Bobby Keys. He is the owner and principal of Leadfoot Consulting. Bobby, I have to start off just by asking you. You must be a car guy from the name of your company. Am I correct?
That's correct.
How are you today?
I'm good, Ronnie. How are you this morning?
We are great here at Civic Center TV. How did you come up with the name, and when did you actually come up with your company?
I actually came up with the company back in 1992. I was at BBDO advertising, which at that time we were doing all the Dodge and Dodge dealer worldwide advertising, eventually to include Jeep and Chrysler. And a couple of us that were good friends as well as executives, uh, people kept asking us for help with their advertising and their marketing. And so we decided we should probably charge for our time. So with me and my habits with cars, we threw around some names and came up with Leadfoot Consulting. Mainly it started out purely on a consulting basis to help people get their hands, especially with small companies, around what they need to do marketing wise and strategy wise in order to promote their businesses. And we finally settled on Leadfoot, which has stuck very well. Most people find a little humor in it, which is great. But it kind of goes back to my involvement with cars through my life, from racing when I was a young kid to now trying to put a collection of cars together and other things that are automotive related.
Well, now more than ever, companies need to market themselves. What advice are you giving them through this crazy, chaotic COVID-19 time?
Well, it's been a very difficult time for people. We ourselves have actually lost, just here in Michigan, 7 clients. Their businesses, from restaurants, a dental office, uh, cleaning service, they're closed. They're not going to reopen. It's really put a lot of pressure on them. They basically didn't have clients coming in. And so from that standpoint, what we've been trying to tell all our clients is reevaluate everything. Reevaluate the way you do it, how you interact with your clients, and reevaluate your messaging and communication. You cannot, in this environment, communicate to people to get them to come into your business or interact with your business the same way you did 10 months ago. Just not going to work.
And so, knowing that, how important has social media been during this time for some of these companies and these businesses to reach out to their clients and to their population as well?
So social media has been kind of a mixed bag depending on the company and how involved in their social media messaging they really are. One of the issues with the social media is when people go on, all they do is see a lot of negative impact and not the positive of what can come out of this. Um, and in order for companies to succeed through this, they really need to learn to expose themselves in a different way, reach out, put a positive message out, and do it more frequently. Um, because they're not going to be able to reach people um, through other types of venues. We used to do a lot of mailers. This year, everybody had probably noticed that the amount of mailers and advertising that you get in the mail has dropped significantly, and that's because you cannot take a coupon into a store, into a restaurant, anywhere. It's just starting to open up. So those first 7, 8 months have been something we've had to steer people away from and do more of a branding communication rather than a coupon and come see us communication.
So, and with that, Bobby Key's with us here on the Oakland County MegaCast. He is the owner and principal Leadfoot consultant and advertising expert. And knowing that, I would imagine you had to put all your skills to test during this pandemic in trying to help lead and navigate your clients through COVID-19. And knowing that, what do you think has been a positive long-term change coming out of all of this?
Probably the most prolific thing that I've noticed with the clients that are actually working very hard to keep their businesses afloat and move forward is they've reevaluated their messaging. They've reevaluated their communication and the way they approach their clients. One of the things we've always taught our clients is you have to think how your possible clients would want your service or product, not how you want to give it to them. And this has been very concentrated and very, I guess, the best way, using prolific again in this environment right now, because you can't just reach people the way you used to. And so it's been very difficult trying to change people's habits.
Bobby Key's with us on the Oakland County MegaCast today. He is the owner and principal of Leadfoot Consulting, joining us on the program. In addition to his role at Leadfoot Consulting, he is also a classic car collector. And we know here in Metro Detroit, we have a lot of people that have a similar interest in classic cars that Bobby has. Bobby, what are some of your favorite cars that you have collected?
Well, over the years, since I was very, very young, my favorite car has always been the Corvette. I currently own 3 of them. I have 2, if you're familiar with Corvettes, they're C-Class cars, so the very first Corvettes back in 1953 started out as the C1s. In 63, they changed the C2s, 68, the C3s, etc. And I have a couple of C3s right now. I have a 1969 427 Corvette, which is custom, a 1982 all bone stock, which is the last year of the C3s. And then I have a one-off custom, it's a 2003 C5 with a custom 1957 body. So it's a one-of-a-kind car that I was able to purchase a few years back, and one of my favorite toys ever. And I've had a lot of cars over the years, from Chevelles to Mustangs to Camaros. So it's just rotating cars sometimes.
Bobby Key's with us, the owner and principal of Leadfoot Consulting and a classic car collector as well. One element of collecting classic cars is that there's a significant community that comes along with a lot of these collectors and enthusiasts of classic cars in the Metro Detroit area. How has the community of car collectors and car enthusiasts been impacted by COVID-19?
Well, the biggest problem this year is the lack of car shows. With the social distancing, a lot of the venues where a lot of the shows and a lot of the clubs had their shows, they just shut them down. The biggest example of trying to shut one down was Woodward Dream Cruise. Although it was not an official Dream Cruise this year, from what I understand, it was very successful. It was the first time I haven't witnessed it since the beginning, because I was helping drive a brand new C8 Corvette from Daytona Beach up to Gaylord.
Bobby Key's joining us on the Oakland County MegaCast. He is the owner and principal at Leadfoot Consulting. You've also previously helped to organize many events related to automotive and racing lifestyle, such as the Barrett-Jackson Auto Show and the Detroit Grand Prix. Those are events that have circulated through the Metro Detroit area over the last several years and several decades, but of course also been impacted this year. Is there any discussion, or do you, from your experience, know what maybe these event organizers are considering for when they do bring these back, maybe in 2021 or beyond?
I've been in contact with Barrett-Jackson. They're actually doing their second online auction as we speak. There's a number of cars on their Barrett-Jackson website that are up for auction. They've done it online. The Mecum auctions have actually started doing their events live again. My understanding from my connections at Detroit Grand Prix, they're going full-blown ahead to have the Grand Prix again this year. A lot of it's going to have to do with planning. A lot of it has to do with, are we going to get a vaccine? What are the other protocols that can be put in place that can give people that feeling of safety? A lot of people are kind of just tired of it, but a lot of people are still so afraid of the virus that it's very hard, especially in the car collectors, because you do have a lot of people that are older, retired, that are into the car collecting, that have retired, have a lot of money, and that's one of their hobbies. And if they have any kind of significant health concerns, they're not going to want to show up at these events.
And with that, Bobby, just a couple more minutes here with you on the Oakland County MegaCast. If we could shift back a little bit to your expertise of advertising, any last words of wisdom or a couple words of advice that you want to give out to the viewers and listeners or business owners right now as we're 7 months into this pandemic and how to continue to survive it?
Probably the best piece of advice I could give right now as far as the marketing goes is listen to your customers, because their needs or their way of interacting with your business have changed over the last 7 or 8 months. And some of this may be permanent changes. You may not have the ability to go back and do things the way you used to do them or communicate with your clients the way you used to. And the clients will tell you what they want and how they, but you have to engage them. You've got to make them interested in knowing that you're listening and you want to help them to provide your product or service to them.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why so many of these companies actually need a marketing expert behind them, because while they're looking at the bottom line, they also need to factor in how can they bring that revenue in and keep the revenue stream flowing, and one of that has to do is with marketing. And sadly, that's what so many companies it's one of the first things companies tend to cut because of the budget, but it really is important to keep it going. So thank you for those words of wisdom. We so appreciate it. And I wish you much success in the future, and best of luck with all of your cars as well. How many speeding tickets, by the way, before we let you go, have you had in your lifetime?
Not that many for my bad habits. I'm pretty well safe up here. I pretty much behave when I'm on the street. I do get on it every once in a while, but for the most part, try not to do anything crazy. One thing is you never know what other traffic's going to do. So part of learning how to drive high-performance cars, racing, things like that, is you learn that, especially on roads, most people are driving somewhat distracted, and you sure don't want to lose your car because somebody else is not paying attention to how fast you're moving.
That is so true. We need to get you hooked up with the guys over there at M1 Concourse in Pontiac. Get you on the track over there, Bobby.
Yeah, I know a lot of people up there.
Well, we thank you so much for your time. It's great having you and having your insight to share with our viewers and listeners.